Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Brittany. This is the Brittany React Show. And on this show we talk all things entertainment news and movie news. Today it is all entertainment news. We had a huge Disney discussion talking about their 100th anniversary and how everything's going wrong for them. That was a big stream we had yesterday. Today we have a lot of like superhero and Marvel news that I just kind of like didn't get a chance to cover. So it's going to be like a mixture of like news that I'm catching up on, but we still have some really interesting things to cover today. How are you guys doing? Hi Josh, hi Natanya, hi Scorpio Shadow, hi Alexander, hi Astronomy, hi Dr. Shonda, hi Maiden, hi Alexander, hi Rachel, hi each and every one of you who comes to my show every day. I deeply, deeply appreciate you. All right. So like I said, yesterday we did a whole live stream talking about how Disney's 100th anniversary didn't do well, and it is their first year since 2014 where they haven't had a billion-dollar film. It's just a very terrible year for them. It really could not be worse. In fact, it was this tweet where I got the picture of Mickey I used on my thumbnail, because I was like, dang, not them using a picture of broke Mickey. But I mean, I guess that's kind of how Disney feels this year. I guess they must feel very broke. They lost $1 billion in all of their flops this year, so kind of historically bad for something that was supposed to be like a really good big year for them. Is anyone shocked by this? No billion-dollar films this year? Again, if you go watch my 2023 It Could Be a Bad Year for Movies video, I predicted all of this. I made a video way back in January saying, like, hey guys, I think a lot of these movies coming out probably won't do very well. And it turns out I was very much right. So many of my predictions in that video came true. And one of my predictions was that Disney was going to have a terrible year. And boy, was I right, like, to a very, like, strong degree. Yeah, Arvid, Disney needs to sit down. Or you guys are talking about your Spotify Wrapped. My top artist, you guys, no one in the chat will probably have heard of it, but it's Magdalena Bay. That's my top artist. My second artist is actually Paramore. I love Paramore. They're a good band. But anyway, not talking about music. I just saw you guys talking about your Spotify Wrapped thing. But anyway, Maiden says, it's crazy to see Disney's downfall when I used to be so obsessed and inspired by them as a kid. I know. I guess if you're watching this show, you probably were at least really into Disney at some point, and a lot of you guys are even like, well, I don't care, not into it. The Blue Gecko Nerd says, can't you feel it, Mickey? What are you talking about? But anyway, I'm not going to go into too much detail here. I just did a whole live stream about this. Just wanted to bring this up because it is an interesting fact. Moving on. So some good news, and the good news for Disney is that people actually really like Iman Vellani. People may have been mixed on The Marvels, the movie, but people really seem to like Iman herself. And she was the best thing in that movie, in my opinion. And she has the best take on how the MCU can regain endgame hype. She's been having like some of the best interview quotes and like interview statements. Whoever is her publicist needs to go help Rachel Zegler. Because she knows how to give really good statements in interviews that make her like really, really likable to fans. But she said, I don't know if it's about just getting bigger and bigger and bigger, because then like what's left? I think it's just about making the audience care about their characters. And that is exactly what I've been saying for at least like several months now. It's just, they keep announcing more and more characters, like introducing more and more new people. And I'm just like, it's not about more. It's about like, do I even care about these characters to begin with? Like, you could give me all the big CGI action sequences in the world that look super cool, and while I appreciate them, if there's no like interesting story to like make me care about why people are fighting, it's only going to be like, it's only going to do so much for you. So great comment here. I like that Iman is becoming like, I think, a fan favorite already. Good for her. I think she's definitely going to stick around. I know there are rumors that they're going to do a Miss Marvel season 2. I actually think that's a good idea. Even though I don't like most Disney Plus stuff, I think that's actually something that could do well now, just because she has a lot more fans than she did before. But what do you guys think about this comment? Josh says Kevin Feige should listen to Iman Vellani as she's been speaking nothing but facts about Marvel. Very, very true. Again, she's been giving some really great statements. Prototype says it's almost like Iman knows common sense and good logic. Right, right? I mean, I wish more actors had that. Red Banana Green says, love seeing Disney implode. They take public domain cultural work and take it private. They're awful. Yeah, Disney is well known for like messing with copyright laws and also just with our culture. I think Disney has like set the pace for American culture for a century now. So it's really interesting that they're kind of no longer doing that anymore. Jiminy Craft Style says she's so mature compared to the exec. She's what the team needs, right? Like, why is she giving more mature statements than like some directors? And we're about to talk about Taika Waititi, who I think is like the opposite of Iman in like every single way possible. Yeah, the Taika Waititi section's a trip. Trust me, we have a lot to talk about with him. But I think Marvel knows that Iman is very popular with fans, so she's apparently going to be the center of their new Marvel Zombies story, which I'm not even really totally sure what Marvel Zombies is. I did look it up on IMDb. IMDb says it's a reimagining of the Marvel Universe as a new generation of heroes battling against an ever-spreading zombie scourge. So it's going to be an animated series with superheroes and zombies. Don't know how big of an audience this show is going to get, but I am seeing that people are at least more excited now because Iman's going to be like a key character in it. So good for her, good for Miss Marvel. It seems like they might have had like one new character post Endgame that actually really did hit, and it's her. So good for her, because like they clearly have not gotten like this much traction from any other new character they've introduced at all. Even Shang-Chi, even though people like that movie, I don't think people really care about Shang-Chi, the character, nearly as much as people really like Miss Marvel now. So I think Miss Marvel might be like their one post-Endgame success so far. Joshua Munn says Taika Waititi's career is over, thank God. I think he knows it too. Honestly, I think Taika's going through a midlife crisis. We're going to talk about it. Scorpio Shadow says Marvel Zombies, like the one episode of What If. Yes, it is going to be like the one episode of What If, but like it's going to be a whole show. Anyone going to watch this Marvel Zombies show? Alex liked the comic. Okay, that's cool. Alexander says Iman Vellani should get more work outside of the MCU. I hope that she does. She's very personable and likable enough that I think she could. We'll see. Seems like Nicholas Wilson is not interested in this show. Nicholas, yeah, I kind of get you. Honestly, this show to me feels like more content, more homework, more like something you definitely don't need to watch to understand the overall MCU, but I think it's just for like hardcore fans if you really want it. That's why I said I'm not really sure what the viewership on this show is going to be. It sounds extremely niche. Probably not going to get like a lot of people to watch it, but hey, it's something. Maybe, hopefully, it'll get at least good reviews because Marvel really needs something that people like universally. But I just like that at least Iman Vellani is getting a lot of love. That's like at least one positive thing that's happening in Marvel right now. Now we're about to talk about all the bad things happening in Marvel right now. So, you guys remember when the director of Shang-Chi, speaking of Shang-Chi, Destin Daniel Cretton, he was originally supposed to be the director of Avengers Kang Dynasty, but he was pulled off of the project so that he could focus on the sequel to Shang-Chi and a Wonder Man series. And when we broke this news, and I did talk about it in a previous live stream from weeks ago, I told you guys, I guess this means they're not really going forward with Kang anymore. I guess this means they're like slowly trying to cancel the Kang Dynasty since they just took off the director. But no, it sounds like they are going to keep up with Kang, even though I think that's a mistake because they just got a new writer for Kang Dynasty, and it's also the same writer for Secret Wars, Michael Waldron, who wrote Multiverse of Madness and Loki. So I have mixed feelings on this choice, just because I have mixed feelings on Multiverse of Madness, even though I really like Loki. Maybe the issues I had with Multiverse of Madness wasn't his fault. But I think he's an okay choice. I am interested to see like why they think he's better for this movie than Destin was, but I don't know. Honestly, my honest opinions about this are just why are they doing this movie at all? I feel very strongly, very, very strongly, that they should just cancel the Kang Dynasty and cancel the Kang character. Just say, like, oh, somehow Kang died. I don't know, just, like, kill him off screen. I honestly don't think that Kang really made a huge enough impact on, like, the general public. Not just, like, Marvel fans, but, like, general moviegoers do not give an F about Kang. They barely know who he is, even though he's actually been in a few projects at this point. His presence in Quantumania didn't really help that movie become, like, a huge hit. And then Loki Season 2 actually got a lot less viewership than Loki Season 1, so people weren't really, like, rushing to watch Loki Season 2 for Kang. So I don't understand why they seem so committed to this Kang character that they still want to continue having him as the big bad, and even want to have Kang Dynasty, who is even going to be the Avengers by that point? Like, we don't even know who the Avengers are. I don't know. I still think this is a mistake. I was actually hoping that they were gearing up to cancel Kang Dynasty. As I've told you guys, I really think, given the rumors that they want to reboot the whole MCU with Secret Wars, I was like, that makes so much sense. Just cancel Kang Dynasty, and let's just go straight to Secret Wars so we can reboot this whole thing and start over from scratch with the X-Men in a new universe. That's how I would fix the MCU if I was Kevin Feige. Or anyone in charge at Marvel, really. That's what I thought they were starting to do, but no. Now that we have this news, it's like, oh no, we are actually doing the whole Kang thing, which makes me think they're probably going to have to recast. And I don't know how I feel about that. I'm like, I mean, maybe they'll keep, what's-his-face, Jonathan Majors. But the thing is, his trial actually starts today. And if they find him guilty, he could actually go to jail for a year. Not just jail, actually, prison. He could go to prison for a full year on domestic abuse charges. So, and it's not even just this one case, by the way, that he's facing. He's got, like, multiple accusations from multiple people from, like, all, like, way into his past. Like, not even just, like, domestic abuse stuff, but also, like, people have been saying that he's been really abusive on set to other cast members and crew members. Like, lots of nasty accusations have come out about this guy at this point. So I personally, I hope they do recast. I know we don't know what happens with the verdict of this case, but I'm just talking about his character. Like, even if he's found innocent, I feel like there has been enough people who have come forward who have been like, Jonathan Majors is actually kind of a douche, that I'm just like, I don't want this guy around. So I hope they do recast even if he is innocent. But if he is found guilty and they have to take him to prison, I mean, who are they going to get to replace him? They're going to have to deal with the fact that there's already this other character that's played before them, and they're going to be compared to Jonathan Majors, and then they're going to have to pick up the mantle and be the new big bad in a universe that's falling apart. So I think this is a mistake. I really do. But what do you guys think? You guys know I don't care about the Kang character. I feel like he hasn't really worked out. I wish they would move on to a bigger, badder villain. But what do you guys think? Alex says they can recast because he could be a variant. I know that he could be technically anyone, but they went out of their way. Like, even in the Quantumania post-credit sequence, they went out of their way to show you that all the Kangs look like Jonathan Majors. So yes, technically he could be a variant, but, like, they've already shown you that, like, all the variants look like him, so they're gonna have to write around that somehow. Alexander, thank you so much for the super chat. Taika Waititi married Rita Ora, and she's bad luck because her acting and singing career is also a flop, and she's probably advising Taika on his career. You know what's funny about Rita Ora? I've never understood why she was a thing. Like, not trying to be too mean to her, but, like, I feel like if there's ever been a person that Hollywood has tried to push on the public more, it is Rita Ora. Like, for a while there, they were like, Rita Ora, she's the next big thing. And I'm like, I don't think anyone cares. Like, I know she's bigger in the UK, but here in the US, it's always been like, why is she invited everywhere? Like, what has she actually done? But anyway, that's my side soap opera box on why I don't understand why Rita Ora is everywhere. But anyway, I did hear that. Maybe she cursed him. I don't know. But thank you for the super chat. Arvin says they can't replace Kang because they signed that only Jonathan Majors can be any variant of Kang. They can't do that. That's the point. They're all one. Arvin, I forgot about that. Thank you so much for bringing that up. I did see that there's apparently, I don't know if this is true, so take this with a grain of salt, but I did hear that apparently in Jonathan Majors' contract, they do have some sort of like binding thing that says that he can be the only person to play Kang. I mean, there's got to be a way. Marvel's a very big company. Disney's a very big company. There's got to be a way out of that contract somehow. Surely there's some like bad behavior clause that might negate that. I don't know, because they can't move forward with him. I truly believe. I mean, look at what happened with the Flash. A lot of people didn't see the Flash because they didn't want to support Ezra Miller. What if that happens with, Jonathan Majors? I mean, honestly, I have no idea if he's going to be found guilty or not, but what if he is found guilty, though? And he does have to go to prison for an entire year. They're not going to sit around and wait for a whole year until he's out of prison to film Kang Dynasty, are they? That would be bad. So again, I still feel like all signs point towards they're probably just going to recast this character. And I still feel like that's a mistake. People are already confused enough about what's going on in this universe. I don't know if that's going to work out, in my opinion. Danny says that's probably null if you go to jail. Exactly. The contract has to be null and void if he goes to prison. Like, come on. That has to be somewhere in there. Nicholas says it turned me off to so many of these supposed icons today. I know. I feel you, Nicholas. There's so many movies and shows that, like, I just kind of watch with different eyes now, unfortunately. I totally understand what you mean there. And of course, Arvin, you have to bring it up. They can get rid of Jonathan Majors because he is busy stopping children fighting with that hat. Maybe Jonathan Majors can go and, like, break up some more high school fights. Maybe that could be his post-prison career. I don't know. But anyway, I still think this is a mistake. I think the fact that they're even still doing Kang Dynasty is a mistake. I don't know who's going to be the Avengers, but I feel like people are losing so much interest in this universe so quickly. The best thing that they could do is just get to a reboot like sooner rather than later. And if we do Kang Dynasty, then that means we're not getting Secret Wars until like 2030 or something like that. And I think that's way, way too long to wait for a major reboot. I don't think anyone's going to care by then, but that's just my opinion. Other thoughts on the whole Kang Dynasty situation before we move on to the next topic? Hycian says, recast, if not, just scrap the movie and go straight to Secret Wars. I don't really think they should recast. I think they should just scrap the character. Cowboy thinks he's definitely going to be found guilty. I think so too. I think signs point towards guilty, but we don't know yet. We'll see what the actual court says. And I will cover it when they actually do give a verdict too. Prototype says if he's found guilty, people will boycott his movie. Exactly. That's why they can't risk it. Also, just the reputational damage to Disney having a guy like that in your movie would also be pretty bad. But anyway, moving on to the next topic. So now, where is it? Okay. Oh, God. Right. Now we're talking about Taika Waititi. Oh, my God. Taika Waititi. I feel like because Thor Love and Thunder was so poorly received and people, like the entire Marvel fan base, turned on him so hard, I feel like he's going through a midlife crisis. Because I feel like this year, he has just said like one absurd thing after another. And every headline about him is just like, really? Really? You really wanted that to be, your name attached to that quote? But he just keeps going. And he recently said something again that got a lot of people kind of upset. So let's just go through it. I'm going to give you the whole timeline of events here for what the heck is going on with Taika Waititi's career, because I really think the guy's going through it. I'm being honest here. Nicholas says Taika Waititi is an epic troll. He can be an epic troll, but I think the trolling is definitely hurting his career at this point. Arvin says Taika Waititi is the male version of Rachel Zegler. I think you're right. He is kind of like the male version of Rachel Zegler. That's a good way to put it. But anyway, so it all started, well, sort of started with Taika Waititi saying, "Oh, you know, guys, I don't think I'm going to be asked back for Thor 5. It's fine. I've got so many other projects to work for. I don't need Marvel anymore." Like him basically coming out and admitting that he knows his movie wasn't well received and he's not going to be asked back for the next Thor movie. In fact, Chris Hemsworth even kind of took a dig at Taika Waititi. He kind of alluded that he thought the Thor movie was very silly and that he wanted to work with more serious directors. Even Chris Hemsworth was throwing major shade at him. I don't know what happened between them, but I guess Chris is just upset that he kind of turned Thor's character into a joke. I mean, if I were him, I'd be upset too, to be honest. They did turn Thor into a joke, but I just thought it was very funny. He was like, "I'm ready to work with serious directors now." So that must have really pissed him off or something, because ever since then, I mean, to be fair, like the Thor Love and Thunder movie, it still made almost 800 million, but it still made less than Thor Ragnarok. So obviously people did not care for it. But anyway, he has been like saying just the craziest stuff. It started off with him being like, no directors are ever remembered. I don't think I'm going to be remembered in 50 years. Even the director of Casablanca isn't remembered. Like, who directed Casablanca? No one could tell me. Like, he doubled down on this at least twice, even though he pissed a lot of people off with his Casablanca statement, even though he's low-key true. But anyway, I think this was kind of the first thing that made people upset, because they were like, why are you talking about this? Why are you okay? Like, to me, this comment really reads like he's having an existential crisis, and he's like, oh my god, I was the hottest thing for a minute. I had Jojo Rabbit. I had Thor Ragnarok. People really liked me. I had an Oscar nomination. Like, I was really on top of the world, and now everyone hates me. This comment to me reads he's having like a come to Jesus moment, and he's like, none of it matters. None of it, it's everything. Nothing's real. I'm not going to be remembered in 50 years. F everything. Like, that's kind of the vibe this statement like gives me. What do you think? Real Lid, Taika needs better skincare. What? Scorpio Shadow says, honestly, he probably is going to ruin Star Wars now, which is my fear. Oh, we're going to talk about Star Wars. I highly doubt that movie is happening, but if it is, oh, will it be an entertaining disaster? Ethan Vega says, I would be down for a redo of a Thor and Gore the God Butcher movie. Oh yeah, they really messed up Gore. The whole Gore the God Butcher thing was really done poorly. But anyway, this was the first comment he made that was like, what are you talking about, Taika? And then he started going on and on about how he's totally still making his Star Wars film, even though we were all like, I don't think you're actually going to make that. I mean, we're talking about the same studio, the same person, Kathleen Kennedy, who will fire someone over anything, it seems. Like, how many directors has Kathleen Kennedy gone through just for, like, creative differences? And then you have a guy who was literally out here like, yeah, I'm going to make a Star Wars movie that's going to piss people off. Like, do you think with how terrible of a state Star Wars is at right now, Kathleen Kennedy is going to, like, well, I don't know. I was going to say, do you think Kathleen Kennedy is going to allow him to make a movie that'll piss people off? But she does that anyway, so maybe she will. I don't know. Now that I think about it, maybe they're a match made in heaven. I don't know. But honestly, I see Taika Waititi. I see him kind of... Here's how I think this will happen. If this movie happens at all, and I don't think it will, but here's how I think. I think there will be creative differences on set. There will be probably lots of rumors of tension and clashing between Taika and the execs, because the way Taika works is how he just kind of does him, and he likes to do a lot of improving, a lot of like off-the-cuff kind of stuff. And that is not apparently how Kathleen Kennedy likes to make movies. Again, if you guys remember Solo, they fired the directors on Solo because apparently they were doing too much improv, and like they were not being the kinds of directors that Kathleen Kennedy wanted. Like, she just wants like a very traditional straitjacket director that she can tell what to do, and Taika Waititi is not that. So that's why I don't think this movie is ever gonna happen or ever gonna work out. So I'm just like, okay, Taika, you could tell people you're making the Star Wars movie, but we all know it's not happening. And if it does, you're definitely getting fired from it halfway through, like every other director. So, he can still say he's doing it, but I highly doubt it. Do you guys want a Taika Waititi Star Wars movie? Josh Loves Movies says his Star Wars movie is gonna be a disaster like Thor Love and Thunder, as he's intentionally pissing fans off. I think he's so upset with how Marvel fans turned on him, he's trying to intentionally troll the fans. He's trying to rile the fans up, which I think is a mistake because you need the fans to support you, especially Star Wars fans. Do you know how vicious Star Wars fans can be? Once Star Wars fans decide they don't like you, they will let you know. So it's like, are you just trying to pick a war? Like, it sounds like that's what he's doing. Again, this is why I'm like, I guess he's going through a midlife crisis. He's like, F everything. Marvel ruined my career. Thor Love and Thunder ruined my career. Now I'm just going to say whatever I want. Because also, now he's talking about even Thor. He's like, talking about why he joined the MCU. He's like, I had no interest in doing one of those films, but I was poor. And I thought, you know what? This would be a great opportunity to feed my children. And Thor, let's face it, it was probably the least popular franchise. I never read Thor comics as a kid. I mean, first of all, he's like, you know what? I only joined the MCU because I was poor and I need to feed my kids, which, I mean, is very relatable and real. Like, I don't even fault him for saying that. But then he goes on and says, like, oh, but let's face it, Thor was never a popular franchise. Like, the way he says it, though, is like, they're just giving me Thor. Like, no one cares about Thor, and I need money, so, like, no one would care if I messed up Thor, because who likes Thor? I didn't read Thor comics as a kid. Like, he's like, no, these comments sound like a man who has nothing to lose, who has been disillusioned by the industry, who has been disillusioned by his own success, and who is just like, you know what? F you guys. This is how it feels like to me. What do you guys think? Oh, hi, Jaden. Cheetah Viper says he doesn't know who played the mother of Luke and Leia. I do remember that. He made some, like, big mistake about Star Wars where he didn't know, like, a very basic fact. And it was like, is this really the guy you want working on Star Wars? Again, Star Wars fans do not play around. Okay? They do not. They like their lore and they like it in a very specific way. This does not seem like the kind of guy to go in there and, like, mess around with that. Personally, I know this says a lot about me, but here's my thing. I like drama. I like mess. So I'm cheering for the messiest outcome here. And the messiest outcome for me is, like, they actually do make this movie. Because then I think all the behind-the-scenes drama around it will probably be better and more entertaining than the movie we actually get. So for drama's sake, you know what? I'm cheering for this. I really want it, but I just highly doubt it will happen. Creative Kravita says he should still go with care and passion in his projects. It sounds like he doesn't really have passion for making these kinds of movies anymore. It sounds like, again, like he's been very disillusioned by everything. Elixir says, I don't care about Star Wars, so I'm ready for some juicy drama, right? Right? Like, who's with me? Who just wants the drama? Arvin says, that's the reason we love you, because we all love drama. It's fun. You guys can tell I just like drama, right? I just like when mess is happening and it's not my mess. But anyway, yeah, that's the most entertaining outcome, so let's go for it, right? But anyway, he has, like, a new movie coming out right now, and even this new movie is not doing very well. It's not getting good reviews, so I don't know if he's lost his touch or, like, critics are being harder on him or what, but again, he made another crazy statement because people were complaining that his new movie wasn't, like, historically accurate, and he was like, I mean, in the Bible, they took real things that happened, and then they added, magic. I'm just like the guy who wrote the Bible, bro. So then he compared himself to the guy who wrote the Bible. Again, this is what I mean when he's having a midlife crisis and he's just breaking down and he's saying whatever is coming to the top of his brain because he can, and I feel like he feels like he has nothing left to lose. Because who would say that? Who would say that? And seriously, if no person who seriously thought they had a future would say these kind of comments. That's what I mean. Oh, Shelley Lee, Next Goal Wins was a bit of a disappointment. You saw it. I haven't seen it. I don't know if I'm going to, but I'm sorry it was a disappointment to you. Um, Pretty Princess says, yes, my grandfather always says I'm in everyone's business. I think that reflects on my interest in your channel, Brittany. Okay. I love how you guys are like, yeah, we're here for the drama. That's great. That's great. But anyway, now moving on to the next topic. I just had to bring up the Taika Waititi stuff because I was just like, what is going on with this guy? He's having a hard time. I can tell. But anyway, Aquaman. Aquaman is now projected to flop as well. I mean, to be honest, a lot of movies are doing really badly in Hollywood. It's not just superhero films. It's not just Disney movies. It's not just MCU films. It's also DC movies. It's kind of everything. Again, I have like kind of a general topic we've been talking about on this show is just like how the state of Hollywood is like really bad. Like everything's declining. But anyway, talking about DC specifically here. Because Aquaman 2 is actually tracking to only open between 32 to 42 million. 32 to 42 million! Oh, this is bad. This is really bad. And it's really bad because it has a budget of $205 million. $205 million. Another very, very expensive movie that's going to open less than 50 million and it's probably going to lose the studio a ton of money. Warner Brothers, this is also their 100th anniversary year, and they're also having a really bad year. They should be thanking Greta Gerwig's butt for Barbie, because Barbie has been like their saving grace for them this year. Because they've been having also a lot of flop after flop after flop. Is anyone actually excited for Aquaman 2? Who is ready to see it and who doesn't care anymore? No, it is not good, Dr. Shonda. Elixir says Aquaman and Thor franchises are the two sides of the same himbo movie. It is a himbo movie. Both Marvel and DC are failing the audiences. Yeah, I feel like generally people are just over comic book movies. I mean, I do have a list here. If you actually just go back to every comic book movie that came out this year, most of them flopped horribly. I mean, look, we have obviously Quantumania that did really badly. Shazam 2, that did really, even worse somehow. Guardians actually did pretty well, so did the Spider-Verse movie. These are the only two films that actually did well. And then we have, again, The Flash, that bombed awfully. The Marvels, that did terrible. Blue Beetle, that did terrible. Kraven the Hunter had a move, but that's also going to flop. And then now we have Aquaman 2, which also seems like it's going to flop. So, yeah, the entire superhero genre, not doing too hot, not doing too hot at all. So I'm not surprised that this tracking is coming too low. I think people are done, or at least getting very fatigued by this genre, but I also think it's a DC thing. I think the perception of DC is also terrible. Like, people think DC just makes really bad movies. So James Gunn has a lot of work on his hands to turn things around. Like, I have no idea if this Superman legacy movie that he's making is actually going to be a hit. Again, even if this movie is really, really good, I think people, by 2025 when this comes out, I think people just might not care. I don't know. I have no idea. Do you guys think DC can be turned around at this point? I honestly am not sure. Joshua, you think all of them flop? No. Definitely. Spider-Verse and Guardians are definitely hits. I know, Shazam 2 did have Rachel Zegler in it. She's had a very, very mixed year. Nicholas says, I'm sorry to say my uncle put Blue Beetle on when I was at his place for Thanksgiving. I lasted partway before switching to Impractical Jokesters. I'm sorry you didn't like Blue Beetle, Nicholas. I told you guys, actually out of the comic book movies that came out this year, Blue Beetle is one of my favorites. I like Blue Beetle more than the Marvels. I like Blue Beetle obviously more than Quantumania. I think Blue Beetle is actually pretty good. I like it. Cowboy Fan says that film cast is fire and I have faith in Gunn. Okay, so Cowboy Fan thinks this can work out. Rachel says, I'm weird, but I never was a big Superman fan. I don't think you're weird, Rachel. I don't think Superman, even though he's an iconic character that everyone knows, I don't think Superman has ever been like super, super popular like Batman or Spider-Man. So I don't think you're alone. Okay, Cowboy, you agree with me. Blue Beetle was good. Okay, Jaden also liked it. Good. Prototype says, you could not make me support Aquaman 2 for 1,000,000 alpacas. Why 1,000,000 alpacas? Alpacas? You guys say the funniest things. But anyway, again, the reason this is going to project, or this is going to open so low is multiple reasons. Part of it is DC's fault. Part of it is just generally people aren't into superhero movies. But I also think part of it is just people aren't going to the movies in general. I think this Christmas season is looking very bleak. I have no idea if there's going to be any major hit this Christmas season. So bad news for Hollywood. Very bad news indeed. Any other thoughts on Aquaman before we get to the member question of the day? Nicholas says, alpacas unite for Deb. What? Joshua Munn, Brittany, did you see the Disneyland streaker? Yes. I don't have it for WTF news because I don't want to put like nudity on my channel, but there was a streaker at It's a Small World. That is definitely WTF news. Astronomy says, I'm excited for a new Superman. Everything around this movie sounds incredible. Man of Steel was good, but it will be cool to see a different take, and it sounds amazing. I'm hoping that this new Superman film is a lot more of an optimistic, positive spin on Superman. To be honest, I think Henry Cavill's version, he was just like so moody and emo most of the time. I kind of want like a Superman that's in a good mood once in a while, you know? To be honest, I want the cheesy kind of like Richard Donner kind of Superman. Like, that's what I'm hoping this turns out to be, but we'll see. Now the chat's talking about alpacas. What is going on? Wonka, I know Wonka could do all right. Who knows? Maybe Wonka will do really well. Maybe it'll be a huge surprise hit. I did tell you guys when we first got the Wonka trailer that I knew Wonka had a lot of fans, and like this just the general IP of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory is still really popular. So I wouldn't be surprised if Wonka does break out, but I think that'll be the only movie that does really well this Christmas, if it does well at all. But anyway, moving to the member question, I did ask you guys about Aquaman because I wanted to know your guys' thoughts. Like, are you surprised by the fact that Aquaman 2 is projected to do so badly? How do you think James Gunn can turn things around? So you guys gave me some great comments as always. The first comment from Alexander Padilla says, hey Brittany, and I saw the first Aquaman for Christmas 2018 and I loved the movie. I'm a big DC fan. Oh, wait a minute. I forgot to tell you guys. Haven't I told you guys that I went to the Aquaman 1 premiere and I met Jason Momoa? Did I tell you guys that? Have I showed you the picture? I'm sorry I got distracted. But I just remembered that. That's like a huge story. I feel like maybe I should tell you guys. But I don't think I've mentioned it. Here's me and Jason Momoa at the Aquaman 1 premiere in 2018. I can sort of see it. Sorry, it's not a better picture. Maybe I'll post it on Twitter. But he took my phone, actually, and he took the selfie with us. So I've met Jason Momoa, and I was at the premiere. It was a good premiere. Yeah, very random. I didn't even intend to for that to actually happen either. I was in LA with my friend on a vacation, and we happened to have the Aquaman premiere. We just were going down on what's it called, in front of the Chinese theater. We saw them setting up all of the stanchions and the whole red carpet. Actually, it was a blue carpet. We saw them set up everything, and we were like, oh my god, an actual movie premiere. So we decided to actually camp out and stay there, and it was totally worth it because I got to meet Jason Momoa. So it was totally worth it. Yes, he was very nice. He was the only cast member actually that actually talked to the fans and the crowd. So that's a huge positive in my book. He was very nice. Anyway, sorry that was like a random side thing, but I just remembered. I don't think I ever told you guys I've even met Jason Momoa. I have a picture. Anyway, I am a big DC fan, but seeing how DC has been a complete turmoil and how they keep trying to reboot, it's gotten to the point that I lost faith in the brand and they need a 10-year break. It's enough. As always, keep up the great work. Well, thank you. I love your comments. You're always so kind. But yes, I think the main thing DC has to do is convince people that they can make good movies consistently. They can't just keep doing these, oh, well, that movie was kind of okay, but that movie was awful. Like, they can't keep having that. Like they need, like, several movies in a row that people love. So that's a tall order. If the MCU needs the same thing, by the way. So it's easier said than done. I totally understand that, but that's honestly what they need. Scorpio Shadow says, can you tell us a little bit about it? Well, like I said, it was kind of like a random meetup. Like, I didn't even intend to actually go to the premiere. It was just like, oh, wait, we're in LA on vacation and there's a movie premiere. This is like the most touristy thing you can do in LA. And so that's what we decided to do, and it worked out. I know I wish I had a better story to tell you. But no, that's pretty much it. But anyway. Getting back to this, Cheetah Viper says, I'm not sure it will flop. Okay, lately I've seen a lot of people saying not to pre-order. If word of mouth is good, then the movie could do well. Amber Heard could be a factor along with the stories about babies. James Gunn needs to reboot after and do a big advertisement campaign stating a new direction that could win fans back. But to do that, he has to deliver multiple movies that are successful. I totally agree with you when you say that they need a big advertising campaign to tell people that it's a new thing. Because us nerds that like stay like pay very, very close attention to this whole like superhero space, we know what James Gunn is doing. We know he's soft rebooting the DCU. But like casual people probably don't know. I remember in college, this was in 2019 actually, because it was my final year. And my professor, I actually did a whole, because I went to college for media studies, and I had a whole class where I was talking about like the social, like the different brands' influence, like media brands' influence, and I was actually comparing the influence of Marvel versus DC. And my professor, bless her heart, she did not even understand the difference between the two. She was like, Iron Man, he's a DC character, right? So every time I, talk about this stuff, I always try to think of my professor who couldn't even tell you whether Iron Man was team DC or Marvel. Because there are people like that. In fact, a lot of people like that. So we might know that James Gunn is rebooting the DC universe, but not everyone. So they definitely need like a huge campaign to let people know that it's different. I totally agree with that. Baz Banter, thank you so much for the super chat. And you didn't even give any comment or question. You just wanted to support. Thank you. I really appreciate it. Righteous Brother says Aquaman 1, he jumps out of a plane and says, let's do it again while laughing. That's very true. You know what's funny? Even though I went to the premiere and I got to meet him, I still didn't really care for the movie that much. I thought I thought the script was actually pretty terrible. You would have thought that whole experience would have made me like really love Aquaman the movie a lot more, but honestly, I still didn't care for it that much. But I'm glad, I know a lot of people do like it, so not gonna take anything from you guys at all. But getting back to this, Alex Luciano says, I am not really familiar with DC films. I have watched a lot of the animated movies, which are actually very good. However, James Gunn did a great job with Guardians, so only time will tell how it will be received. It is possible to turn things around, but maybe he shouldn't have been announced. Maybe he should have been announced after these movies were released instead of him going on and saying that none of those movies matter. That alone is going to hurt the films moving forward. I am kind of excited to watch a DC film for the first time since he's on board. I will say, it is true just having a new creative voice behind DC does give me like a new interest in it because I'm at least curious to see how they're going to change things. But I really think he only has one chance to nail it, and that is Superman Legacy. He has to nail it out of the gate or he loses people's trust forever. So the stakes are really high for that film. The stakes are very, very high. HP93 says, I think he needs to reset slash reboot and then focus on the separate IPs, at least for a little while. Also focus on the IPs that are doing well. People have been wanting live action movies involving Nightwing, Red Hood, Red Robin, and the current Robin for a while. If he wants to do an expanded universe, why not expand the Batman one? Honestly, I thought that was the obvious go-to plan. I honestly thought when James Gunn took over, that was going to be his move, because I was like, it's so obvious. People really like Robert Pattinson's The Batman movie. Why don't they just like expand the Batverse and like add the new characters to that already existing universe? But no, that's not what we're doing at all. Apparently now we're going to have two Batmans for some reason. Like, I don't think that makes any sense at all. So again, I'm thinking about my professor who couldn't tell you which team Iron Man was on. And I'm just thinking she is going to be so freaking confused about all of this DC stuff if this reboot is not clear enough and there's two Batmans, but they're still bringing back new old actors. Like, they want Jason Momoa to play Lobo in this new universe. Like, I'm just thinking about her. She's going to be so confused. I just don't think it's going to work out. It's too messy. Rio Lynn says James needs to focus on what made people a fan of his Guardians films and what made people latch on to Phase 1 through 3 of Marvel, and focus on good character writing and story. Whether that includes a multiverse or not, honestly, if people go see this new Aquaman film, it's because Jason Momoa is a beefcake, true. And if they don't go, it's because of Amber Heard / people being so far done with DC. Yeah, I think the main reasons this movie won't do well is probably those two things. I think this movie just has so many things going against it. I don't think this film ever had a hope, to be honest. I think this was always going to flop. It's just, I guess it's surprising about how badly it's going to flop, just because the first one at least did make $1 billion. The second one's not even going to make half of that. Angel Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. Did Jason M do that kid thing where they look at you for reactions the whole time Aquaman was playing? No, no. He seemed like he was in a really good mood. I mean, low-key, he also seemed really drunk, but I mean, if I was going to my own huge movie premiere, I'd be drunk too. Josh Loves Movies says, the Batverse is expanding with the Penguin, which leads into the Batman Part 2. True! They're already expanding the Batman universe. So, I don't understand why they're, like, separating and expanding two separate universes. Like, what happens if the Batverse with, like, Robert Pattinson is like so much better than what James Gunn wants to do? Because obviously what fans are going to do is they always like to compare things. People are going to compare the two universes. And James Gunn's universe must be really, really good because the Batverse is already off to a good start. So I just think I think it's a bad idea. Like, it all should have just been one universe. This weird, like, half reboot crap is not going to work out for them. It's just not. I can't see it. Getting back to this, Rabbi Joe in Jerusalem says, Aquaman 2 might surprise us all. Aquaman 1 sure did. I think Gunn's done an awful job as a studio head, but that's because he's a creative. Peter Safran ought to be taking the bullet for the movies their predecessors greenlit. Peter Safran seems like he's only there just to do, like, the actual administration work, because James Gunn's doing everything else. I don't know what he's doing. But we'll see with Aquaman 2. Like I said, I didn't even care for Aquaman 1. I'm only going to see Aquaman 2 because I'm reviewing it for you guys. So subscribe if you're not subscribed, because I am going to be reviewing that. It's going to be a whole Friday review thing. But anyway, I do think that, I don't know. I agree with you that I think James Gunn has done a pretty bad job. Mostly just because he, at least for a while, was way too vocal on social media. I think that it screamed really unprofessional to me. But M82123 says, I have no clue what he can do. The movie he makes could be really good, but it'll still flop. That's exactly what I said. Just because people aren't showing up to theaters. It could be either a failure to market the movie as well, or just lack of interest from the public. Barbenheimer and Five Nights at Freddy's have shown that people will show up to theaters if they genuinely want to see the movie. This Superman film has to feel like an event. It has to feel like an event in the same way that, like, Barbie and Oppenheimer also felt like an event. Especially by 2025, and I think by 2025 we will be living in a very different world just because of technology and AI. I think For anything to be a huge hit in 2025, it has to be like an event that makes you want to get out of the theater and like go see it with other people. So maybe they can make Superman that kind of a thing. I have no idea. We haven't had a Superman movie in a while, but I think that's what it's going to take, to be honest. Oh, Nicholas, you had no idea Aquaman's about to come out. It's coming out for Christmas. It's not coming out this weekend. So I'm not doing the Friday review this Friday. I didn't mean this Friday. I meant like when Aquaman does come out, I will review it. Rachel Reed's Romance says, I think it was a mistake for them to announce James Gunn was taking over the reboot while his batch of movies was still being released. Yeah, I think they definitely know that for sure. Knowing these movies are meaningless ruins any motivation for people to want to see it. Add in the issues of Jason Momoa bullying Amber Heard. Now people feel bad about Amber at all. How people feel about Amber at all. And the disgusting dead baby scene. Yeah, I keep hearing the spoiler. I guess, sorry, spoiler to you guys, but there's apparently a dead baby scene in this movie. And apparently that made this movie not test well with audiences, because obviously people do not like anything with a dead baby in it. Like, do you guys know the movie Mother with Jennifer Lawrence? It got an F cinema score. An F. Because I actually really like Mother. I think Mother is a great movie. I will be on my island. I don't care. I unironically really love that movie. But I think the reason it got an F cinema score is because one of the final scenes they decapitate a baby. So, any violence to a baby, and yeah, I think you're asking for your audience to not be happy with your movie. So that was definitely a choice to include in this movie for sure. I don't know who is excited for this movie. Yeah, not many. I think there is still hope for James Gunn's reboot. Just today, it was teased that Dave Bautista might be joining the DCU, something I would love to see. I think he's going to have all the Guardians in DC at some point. They're all going to play different characters. I think we're going to see Zoe Saldana, Chris Pratt, probably even Bradley Cooper. We're going to see all of those people in DC. I 100% guarantee it. RY, thank you. Mother was amazing. Thank you. Josh says, what is with DC and babies this year? Oh, right, because of The Flash. The Flash also had a very weird baby scene, but that one was just uncanny. At least they didn't get hurt. Nicholas says, apparently the bullying was Jason Momoa dressing the way he did. Yeah, I understand. There were reports that Jason Momoa was like, or at least according to Amber Heard, she said that she felt that Jason Momoa was dressing like Johnny Depp to taunt her. But it sounds like she was just saying he kind of dressed similarly to Johnny Depp and she didn't like that. I don't think Jason Momoa was like actually intentionally dressing up like Johnny Depp to like try to hurt her in any way. I think she was just saying they kind of had a similar style and it triggered her. I don't think he was actually bullying her. But that's just what it seemed like to me from those statements. Alexander says, I had serious problems with Mother, but I thought Jennifer Lawrence's performance was amazing. Yeah, she was very good in that. I actually think that's still her best performance. But getting back to this, Arvin Rufi says, I don't see the connection between James Gunn and Aquaman 2 because James Gunn said this movie wasn't made under his control and it's not part of his universe. And it wasn't canceled because the company wanted the money and James didn't even care about this movie and he didn't try to make that movie. Yeah, James Gunn, to be fair, James was given a bad hand getting into this position. Like, all of these issues DC has aren't his fault, to be fair, but I don't think he's making them better. But the cast for Superman Legacy was interesting, and I'm looking for that. The most interesting part of the cast for me is the casting of Rachel Brosnahan, because I really love Marvelous Mrs. Maisel. That's a great show. If you haven't seen the Marvelous Mrs. Maisel, go see that. I think she's going to be a great Lois Lane, just because she kind of has that quick, like, go-getter energy. So yeah, I'm excited for that movie, mostly for Lois Lane, just because I really like Rachel Brosnahan. Also, she was in House of Cards. You guys remember House of Cards with Kevin Spacey? She was also in House of Cards, and she was like one of my favorite characters in that show too. So she's a really great actress. Getting back to this though, where was I? Okay. Star Film Studio says, well, as a fan of Guardians of the Galaxy, I will think that James Gunn will help DC. But we know what James Gunn was thinking about because James Gunn sent a tweet about the plans for DC and his plans. It will probably suck and flop because as a person that wanted to have my own studio, I'm not sure if these plans will work. I think what James Gunn needs to do is make animation like what Matt Pat said. Just kidding. I think James Gunn needs to do here is listen to their fans, but mostly listen to DC fans who read the DC comic books or who like DC and are professional directors. But what will never change is DC is dead and they will never succeed at life and business. Oh my god. This last line. But what will never change is that DC is dead and they will never succeed at life. Oh my god. I don't know. I think almost anything can have a comeback. So like DC might be dead right now, but who knows what will happen in 10, 20 years. Same thing with Marvel, same thing with Disney. They could all make a comeback eventually. Who knows? But yeah, I definitely agree with your sentiments. Did MatPat say they should make more animation? I think they are doing animation. They're doing this whole like Creature Commandos show. Again, it sounds very niche. Doesn't sound like a lot of people are actually going to watch it, but they are doing animation. Thank you for the comment, though. Desi B says, I think James Gunn needs to stop providing these mini updates that mean nothing. Totally agree. Sit down, sit back, and observe the state of the DCU, listen to fans and casual moviegoers to determine his next moves. He's under a lot of pressure to essentially fix this franchise, so every movie he makes is under a microscope. Yeah, I mean, I am not jealous of James Gunn. He has a very tough job. I do not envy him. I think I understand that what he has to do is a monumental task before him. I'm not even sure if no matter what he does, he can fix it. But he agreed to take the job, and he knew what he was walking into. So maybe he really thinks that he is the one that can turn DC around. Maybe he thinks he's the savior or something. I have no idea. But if he does actually turn things around, I will call him a savior, because honestly, DC needs saving. I know the chimes. I'm so sorry about the chimes, guys. I can't help it. Joshua Munn says Hollywood comedies are dead. That's why No Hard Feelings flopped. Yeah, I think comedies do well on streaming, but it doesn't seem like that's something people want to see in theaters anymore. Getting back to this, Legendary Movie Critic says, I think Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom is going to be the biggest disaster for DC this year. Worse than Shazam 2? And it's going to flop as hard, if not harder than The Flash. Oh my god. The test screenings caused people to walk out. Wonka and The Color Purple are getting great early reviews. That's true. And they could both beat this movie. I actually think you're right. I think The Color Purple could really break out just because I know the original is such a classic, especially amongst the Black community. Like The Color Purple is like it's a cultural mainstay. Every home knows it. So I actually think The Color Purple could be like a huge breakout. And like I said, I think Wonka could too. I think you're right. I think both of those movies honestly could do better than Aquaman. I think DC needs a year break, and it needs to focus on quality instead of quantity. You sound like Bob Iger now, who says that every 6 to 10 business days. Superman Legacy has way too many heroes and way too many villains, in my opinion, so I'm worried as that's going to be kicking off DC Studios. Yeah, Superman Legacy, the cast is pretty wide. Like, it's already like a huge ensemble thing with multiple heroes and multiple villains. I get that's James Gunn's whole thing. He must really like working with ensembles. But I feel like for Superman's first movie, it should just be about Superman. I don't know. Maybe he can juggle this. To be fair, he is very good at juggling multiple cast members, so I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I do think it is weird that he has so many characters in just the very first Superman movie. Totally agree. Oh, Natanya, you've never seen The Color Purple. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I know Halle Bailey is in The Color Purple. Anna Bear says, I don't know, we've seen The Color Purple so many times. Hopefully it does well, but I don't know. Who knows? Who knows? I'm cheering for it. We'll see. But getting back to this, the Cherry Blossom Fantasy says, focusing on character development rather than lame CGI battles like what they did to Joaquin Phoenix Joker, and no more lame Marvel humor. Totally agree. Honestly, I think DC should just do more like serious stuff like Joker. I feel like people like that from them. If he can pull off something like he did for Guardians 3, I think we're safe. I mean, that's what it's gonna take. It has Superman Legacy has to be as well received as Guardians 3 or better. That's the bar. That's literally the bar. Chevlon Jr. says, I don't care about James Gunn or any of the directors that are just arrogant, mean, bitter, and power hungry. Oh my god. I can't believe this is what 2023 has become a year of flops. Yeah, I mean, James Gunn, you're right. He is arrogant. He is bitter. He is power hungry. He probably is very mean. I don't know him personally, but that fits the bill for a lot of directors. I guess they're just like a certain personality type it must take to do this job. I have no idea, but yeah, I guess that sounds like him. But totally get what you're saying. You don't have to see this movie. You don't have to support Superman Legacy. Totally up to you. Nicholas Wilson says he needs to stop. Okay. The harder he tries to get the franchise back on course, the more he alienates the fan base. Like Marvel, DC has to take a substantial break and allow things to slip into the past before starting afresh with a fresh audience. Yeah, they just have to reboot. I honestly think they should be doing a hard reboot. Sounds like they're doing a soft reboot, and I think that's a mistake. So, yeah, we'll see what happens, though. Shelley Lee says, okay, this is going to sound shallow. Interesting. You didn't like the first Aquaman, me either. Can't even remember what it was about, but the star of the film was yummy. Everyone loves Jason Momoa. The only reason that I am going to see this Aquaman is to see the delicious drink of water that is Jason Momoa, and Mama's quite thirsty. Oh, Shelley Lee, I love this comment. I love how honest you are about it. Don't be ashamed. See the movie for what you want to see. See it for beefcake. See it for eye candy. See it for what you want to see. I won't shame you. I am not here to shame you. And he does look good in person, I will say. I think he looks better in person. Getting back to this, Burning Daylighter says, for Gunn, hard reboot, stop hiring friends and family, change the title of Superman Legacy, you think it's extremely tacky, more practical effects, lay off the heavy CGI, if you don't know how to do it right, then don't do it at all. Totally agree. And make stories we want to see, not just stories he wants to see. It feels like Gunn is making movies for himself and not for us fans. Yeah, when he announced the whole DCU slate, a lot of that stuff sounded like stuff that he would be interested in, but I don't know if it was gonna be like something that everyone's gonna be interested in. Like, a lot of the stuff he announced sounded very niche, so I totally agree with you. RuPaul's Drag Race superfan says, hey Brittany, this movie was always gonna flop. You have this movie which basically is a dead movie because everyone is getting recast. Also, you have Amber Heard, who no one likes and will not support this because of her. I think even if James Gunn's movie is excellent, DC is too far gone. Unlike Marvel, DC has not had a hit since 2018. Has it really been since 2018? I guess if we're not counting the Batman. So that would mean by the time Superman Legacy comes out, it would have been 7 years since DC. That is too long. So I think Superman will flop and we will get the Marvel DC crossover. Not this Marvel DC crossover again. Not this DC crossover. Oh. You guys know how I feel about the Marvel DC crossover. If that ever actually happens, that will be the end of superheroes as a genre. I can't see that happening. I can't see it happening and then being good. I think that will ruin both franchises. It can't happen. It can't. Even if they're both desperate, it can't happen. It can't. Vobathos says, is Amber Heard still in it? Yeah, take her out. Maybe replace her with Margot Robbie, Emilia Clarke, or Florence Pugh, someone who can actually put butts in seats with a force like Jason Momoa. I do think one of the things that's holding people from wanting to see this film is because of Amber Heard. She has become such like a controversial person that she's kind of almost like Ezra Miller in a way that I think she's got to keep a lot of people from seeing this movie, so you're definitely not alone. But I think those are all the comments. Yes, I do have WTF news, so we're going to get to that. But any other comments on Aquaman before I get to the WTF news real quick? Hi, Cianth. You really think the DC Marvel crossover is going to happen? Really? Really? I hope not. Brandon says Marvel versus DC would be profitable but have a 0% rating on CinemaScore. You're right. There is no chance that movie, an Avengers versus Justice League movie, there's no chance that movie could be a hit. Zero. I'm telling you, it'll be a disaster. It can't happen. Joshua Munn says, we will get the Marvel DC crossover, damn it. Both will flop until it happens, and it'll make more $1 billion. Oh, you guys aren't serious. You guys are not serious. You guys are so funny. Anyway, getting to the WTF news. So, gaming seems like it's evolving. And I'm bringing this up just because I've been telling you guys, I feel like the future of entertainment is like a weird bridge between immersion, interactive gaming, and cinema storytelling. And this seems like one of those things, because EA has a new patent that enables players to make their in-game characters speak with their own words. Players will input their speech, and then the tech will replicate their voice. So you give your voice to the machine, and then the character you play will speak using your voice. This is the kind of level of immersion they really want with these games, and I'm assuming eventually movies too. This is very, very weird to me. I mean, I think it's kind of cool. I mean, I guess it's progress. I don't know. How do you feel about this? I feel like, I mean, imagine you hear your own voice come out of this character, and they're saying like the most heinous stuff. Like, the future is just gonna be very weird. Do you guys think this sounds like a good idea? Joshua, I'm not in denial. It's not happening. Okay, Cheetah Viper, you think it's creepy. Okay. Joshua says, oh, the video game strike stuff, there hasn't been like any actual like strike there yet, but I will let you guys know if that happens. Okay, Joshua's a nope. Josh Loves Movies says nope. Yeah, they want you very immersed. Like, they want you practically in the story, it seems. Anna Bear says, wow, how creepy, but I honestly love it. I've actually seen a gamer have some type of AI-generated object in the game that used his voice. It was so interesting. I think this is probably using AI to do it. Like, I think they're trying to add AI into all of these games, so I think the future of gaming is going to be very weird. And also, speaking of WTF news, this is actual very literal WTF news, but the new Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse script has the F-bomb in it 4 times. I don't know why they felt the need to do this, but I guess they're like, oh no, he's mature, he's very serious, he's gonna cuss now. I don't know. I just thought this was very funny, because why are they making him cuss and say the F-bomb? I don't know, this isn't really just a news story. I just thought it was like, that's kind of funny. Andrew Barrera, thank you so much for the super chat. People are just going to put on silly voices. Oh yeah, for sure. I think it'll get very ridiculous very quickly. Brandon, oh, you're very happy about this news. Okay. Interesting. But anyway, this isn't really that interesting. I just wanted to bring this up because I was like, I guess they're wanting to like make this series a lot more mature. It's not for the kids anymore, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, that was the show. That was all I had for you guys today. Thank you all for coming to my show. I deeply appreciate it. I genuinely love that you guys show up to my show every day. It's so great. I will see you guys tomorrow at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, like always. This has been a great show. Love talking to you guys. And I will see you in the next show tomorrow. Bye.